What's going on? SATX DIY, Sean White here, known for the Genius controller. Had somebody ask about Xlights and uploading the Genius. So up on my screen tonight, I have the Genius controller for the Pixel 16 controller. I have my inputs, my outputs, my IP address up at the top where it's at. Xlights outputs all right here. I've gone over this before and shown y'all this, I believe. My inputs, standard there. Everything is normal what we have here. I do run Falcon Pi Player. So again, we can go to my inputs and outputs. My channel input is null because this is what runs the show. My channel outputs, we have our Genius 16 controller here on a unicast E131. My IP address it's going to, start channel 1, 20 universes, universe 510. Don't remember how I got to all that, but having those numbers that way helps it work. I believe I have 20 channels, and that's why there's 20 universe counts. I have an FPP channel that I test with on a 205 IP address. In my show, I run a dig quad on a 202. I run a 16 port smart receiver, and I also run a ESP32 smaller dig, if that's not a remote card, but those are on here. That's what's showing. We'll go over to Xlights, as that was the main question. So in Xlights, you get to set up your controller. It's the very first thing I really set up when I open up Xlights. So right here on my Genius 16 E31 protocol, my IP address, my universe numbers, my channel counts, shows everything else about it is active. See down here that it is green. The way I was able to do this, I'm going to dive into, I guess, the dig quad and the 16 and my layout. This is my layout. You're going to have my house here on the right side, my fence line going over to my neighbor's house on the left side, so kind of chopped up two different Google Street Views, two different pictures to get that. But my layout has everything that I have here. So I have my garage gable I've clicked on here. I have my Attitude Quartet over here. I have a smaller gable up on the front. I have a GE Flake K. I have my pencil stake, or my stakes that I've made down here. The front window, the front door, my Tune 2 sign, garage door right, garage door left. This is a Swan, it's an inflatable. It's now 100 pixels. I have my spiral trees, basically all my parts and pieces. You can see up here when I click on something, it's showing Genius Controller 16. All this data up here. We can come down. I've specified how many are on there, what type I want. It's on the Genius Controller 16. Start channel 6613. Port 19. Smart remote. Okay, so this one does run off a smart remote. We'll look at the Attitude Quartet. The Attitude Quartet will look a little bit different. It's port 12, 2811 on the Genius 16. So you ask, how do we get these onto the Genius controller, I think was the question. So connecting Xlights to the Genius controller. Once you have your layout of everything that you have for your string lines, your props, your Tune 2 sign, whatever you have in your yard, you come back over to the controller tab. I'm on my Genius 16 controller. It is green. It is on right now. It's not playing a show. You go to Visualize. And Visualize, if you have nothing here, it's all going to be over here on the right hand side. So it looks like I have a fence line string 1. I'll have to figure that out later because I don't know where that goes. It goes somewhere, and I'm going to have to figure that out before I start my show. Anyways, before this populates, if you have nothing here, these are my ports. Port 1 through 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 17, 18, 19, 20 for me is going to a 16 port receiver. This 16 port up here is a Pro controller. We go down to ports 21 and beyond. Those are actually the Ditch Quad. Actually, no. That's a smart receiver at my neighbor's house. That's where the smart receiver is at. I run a Cat 6 over there. My Ditch Quad is on a separate one which runs stakes in the front of my house. But in essence, let's see if I don't mess anything up. The Tune 2 sign is sitting over here. It doesn't know where it goes. It knows from my layout what I did, how I did it. It knows it's one string. I don't think start channel, end channel really matter about visualize. That's all in Xlights and how it takes it. But I could put that right there on port 9. I can put it back over here on port 1. Goes purple. That right there is visualizing. I drop my props, my lines, my lights, my names on each port that I know that it's on. I have a running Excel spreadsheet to tell me what port is where. I visually go out and look at my ports. I'll go out and look at my lights and make sure everything lines up. You can also do multiples on 1. So I could add spiral trees 1 here. I have it over here. That's how I got all my stakes. I have 9 stakes. They run in a daisy chain, so I have them running off of 1 port. My trees run on a standard port apiece, 1, 2, 3, but those are also in a group and fire off together if I need them to, or just one at a time. Stakes, I have them on individual stakes, but they also fire in a group. Once you visualize, you can actually do an upload output. Upload output is what's going to bring up over here my outputs. Genius 16, unicast 211. That outputs is FPP. The outputs here on a controller is how I got this. So once I upload to controller, again, Xlights, upload output, you can have a clean slate on the other end. Fills all this in for me. All this right here mimics exactly what I just had on the other sheet in Xlights. That's how I get everything to sync up. On the outputs on the controller, you can come in and give it its brightnesses. So I have everything toned down to 30%. Have the Swan at 100%. That's an inflatable with some pebbles in it now. Have the stakes at 50%, so they're brighter. Have the neighbor's house all at 30%. I've run it 50%, 60%, 30% seems just right, so it's not killing anybody on the street. But yeah, this is exactly how I got everything synced up. I used to have a Falcon controller before. It was done the same way. I learned to visualize, learned to sync everything up. Different UI that you worked in. But the Genius controller makes a very simple UI to work with. I could reset all these right here, and I could upload the same thing from Xlights. I really don't want to do that since I'm 2 weeks out from putting my show on. But again, easiest way to connect the two, you have your controller by adding Ethernet. By going to visualize when it's green, and visualize, you get to drop them on the ports that they're on. You go to upload outputs, and again, you have to have something over here in your layout to visualize with. Once you have all that done, go into sequencing, download them, buy them, make them yourself, blow the world up, and have fun. I've got a couple sequences I'm working on tonight to get my show up and going in the next 2 weeks. Hope this helps answer some questions. There's a whole lot of videos out there on Xlights. I'm not going to dive into Xlights because I'm not a pro in Xlights. I do know how to connect my controller to Xlights. I could go into sequence tab here. I could actually drop in a new sequence. I could make it turn on. I could hit this light bulb right here, and my Genius controller will actually fire off the lights outside for what I have that going for. I only have the main roof line hooked up right now, as I haven't put out everything else for the season yet. But this is how I test things. I can actually open Xlights on my iPad and tap and click and play with different things and keep things going. But again, like I said, there's plenty of videos out there on Xlights. I'm not a professional master of it. I am a jack of all trades, master of none by YouTube standards. Hopefully this helps answer some questions, again, with the Genius controllers, Xlights control. If you guys have any other questions, I'm happy to do any video recording from the computer like I just did, or anything with my GoPro, with my controllers, if you guys have any questions about those Genius controllers. Thanks for the question. Y'all have a great evening.